Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another boxing of the offline product game review. This is Front Mission First Remake for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here comes with the update version 1.02 run on a disc, but sadly there was an update available. This update size was 2.6 gigabytes big and will take it to version 2.01 since the time making this video. Now like always, I play all my games completely offline with a non-registered account, and I can't say my experience was 100% flawless, but the overall experience was fairly smooth to beginning to end. And as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, before we go into massive details, I do need to point out that this physical copy of Front Mission First Remake is from Japan. Now, this game fully supports English menus and English navigation. Now, there is no voice acting in the game, so you don't have to worry about that, but the game does fully still support English menus and subtitles and so on. Now you're probably wondering, why do I have the PS4 version in Japan? At the time of this video anyway, this is the only way you can get a PS4 version of Front Mission First Remake, and that is importing the Japan version here of the game on PS4. There is a PS5 as well as a Nintendo Switch version here in the US, but if you want a PS4 version like I like to have PS4 versions of games, you have to get the game in Japan. Now, to go into the game, this is my first time fully experiencing the Front Mission game. I did have the PS1 game that was Front Mission 3. I never really got too far into it, and I know these games are remake of Super Nintendo games, so I was very intrigued because they are very tactical and turn-based kind of style games. And they are from a classic time of Squaresoft and Square Enix, named before they changed the company and became that. But this remake was fairly decent, man. Like I said, this is the first time experiencing. I do need to point out that this game does include 2 campaigns on the disc. Now, I only played one campaign, and I only played that one because the overall experience was fulfilling for that. I didn't really care to run through the game again and experience the same stuff. Sure, it would have been nice to maybe get the other side of the story in the game, but at least they have that option if you're interested in it. Now, my overall experience of the game is a hit and miss in terms of my enjoyment. I did like the combat in certain areas. I did like upgrading the robots and building up my team and then getting experience and getting stronger and stuff like that. But the overall experience did get a little stale or repetitive in certain aspects. First off, I want to point out that when you first start the game, you have to randomly hit parts of the mech's body. So if you shoot, you have to hit like one of the left arm or right arm, leg, body, and so on. This can be a little frustrating at certain moments because there's a few times where you're just trying to attack and it just wants to hit a specific body part, even if it has like 1 HP left, or then it randomly misses. So that was a little frustrating at moments. Now, there are later on in the game skills. Now, I do think personally it takes a little too long to get these skills in the game, and this will eventually unlock the ability where you can be able to choose which body part to attack. Now, again, you have to unlock these. That's the weird part. I have no idea how you unlock skills in this game. I had a character that was like the same level as me, like level 30 to level 35, and still hasn't unlocked a skill. I have no idea how the skill system works in this game, as well as the skills can level up, and I've used a skill repetitively, and it never would level up, but another person, I did it one time and immediately leveled up. I have no idea how that system works. I don't even know if it's just bug and broken, and that's just being a little weird. So I just want to point that out. There are some little annoyances on that. Now, there is a combat arena you can go to build up money and get some experience with each character. But I did have the one time where a computer was supposed to be doing an attack and the game froze up. Now, the game was still moving, there was still music going on, but the game wouldn't progress. The computer wouldn't do its action. I think it got froze up because it was trying to do one of its skills and it wouldn't register it, so therefore it got locked in a loop. So I had to just basically close out the application and reboot it back up. Now, there was a few times during the field of combat where I accessed the menu, what do I want to attack with when I'm attacking the enemy, like with my gun or fist or artillery missiles or whatever. There's a few times it popped up, the menu popped up, but I couldn't navigate anything. I couldn't click on anything, I couldn't move. There was no navigating bar to be able to click on anything. So I had to just back out and re-click on it again, and it generally always worked a second time into it. That happened a few, but far between, but it did happen a few times. And another one, lack of info in the game. Now, I don't know how much this is a one-to-one remake of the original game, and you gotta remember, the original game had a manual that explained certain aspects. There were sometimes aspects that the game really doesn't give you much information. Now, sure, after playing through it and trial and error, you probably get some idea, but in terms of knowing how certain things work, like does your having equipping an arm, equipping a gun help increase your aim? I'm not even entirely sure on that. So, what's the difference between weight and power? Now, granted, this stuff you could eventually figure out, but I'm just saying it's really frustrating at the beginning, especially like if you fight enemies who are using special stuff like a chaff grenade or acid or a flash grenade. There's no explanation of what these status effects are and what they do. I was really puzzled by that. Now, maybe it's somewhere in the game. You can let me know, and I just overlooked it. But it was just really weird how it just has very little information. If, like I said, if it's a full-on one-to-one remake of the original game, and there's no manual, so there's no explanation of this. Now, this Front Mission First remake here from Japan has a manual, but it's all in Japanese. So, and I doubt the U.S. version or the main Switch version or anything like that maybe came with a manual. Maybe it did come with a manual. But still, it's just a little weird. I mean, I think that's something they could have probably fixed up in-game that had a little bit more info and information in the game. Next one. This one, I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes enemy wouldn't move. Like, they'll just stand still and just not do anything. And I'm not even entirely sure what's the purpose of this. Because it'd be better if they did move, because they can surround me. But there was a few times they just stand at a distance and didn't move. Or they'll stand right by me and not move. It was sometimes really weird. Again, I don't know if this was a bug or some design aspect. It was just really strange. The next one is that this happened twice at specific moments, but after I got done with the mission and went back to the city, the background wouldn't load up its PNG file image, and therefore the background was completely black. Now, the game still had the navigation menus, it still had the dialogue popping up and everything like that, but it just didn't have a background. But after I got done with everything in the city and went to do the mission, the game immediately crashed. So I was a little puzzled by this. Now, this only happened once throughout that experience, but sadly, it did happen again right at the end of the game. Right as I beat the game, and was doing a special, like, in-game credit cutscene, like a helicopter, and you're supposed to see all your characters standing at a sunset. All this was blacked out for me. I had no idea what was going on. At first, I thought it was just the way the game was, but, eventually, I went online and realized, okay, it blacked out and was supposed to be displaying something. But right as I got done with this little, credits and stuff like that, and with this full black screen, the game crashed again. So I do expect every single time if the game has a black screen moment, expect the game to crash. Now again, it wasn't too big of a deal. I just reloaded up my save. Thankfully, I just was like right at the precipice of killing the main boss and was one more hit away. So I saved luckily right then and there, so I didn't have to do much backtracking. But just keep that in mind. As well as that, frustratingly, this has the main character dies, game over scenario. While every other character in your team can basically die, and there's no consequences of that, if you, the main character, die in combat, the game is immediately game over. There's no warning of this at all. It's just game over. And which is more frustrating considering there's a lot more random. There's a few times I'm in a battle where I'm shooting the enemy and all the bullets just go to the leg or the arm. And it's a desperate fight for the win. And then computer will shoot me or punch me and hit the body. And all the rounds go into the body. Immediately that mech gets destroyed. So that was really frustrating in that randomness, especially if the main character dies, it's immediately game over, and especially if you're late into a combat. So I recommend definitely try to save in combat frequently to prevent that possibility, because the last thing you want to do is just have to rerun through this entire mission again because some computer got lucky because they was able to hit all their shots at your body, even though they didn't even use guidance or anything like that to aim for the body. And that's about it. That was my overall experience. Now, the game was enjoyable, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Now, granted, I went to the arena and just trained all my mechs up to like level 15 to level 20 to be able to just get through the fights and not have to worry about too much issues. Now, that doesn't mean I got to breeze through the game. Near the end, it started to show that I needed more levels, specifically specific characters. But that's what could be aggravating, is that you don't always have all your characters. Some characters get flushed out or changed out or not in the party at that moment, or you can't even use all your characters in your party and during a mission. So some of them do feel like they get left behind. And as well as that, it was surprising that the game allows you to sometimes have like 11 characters on the map. That's very rare to see a game have a tactical game like this where you can have 11 mech characters on the map you can move around at, use and everything. It's just, the game is okay. It does raise the question how much of a remake should be fully one-to-one to the original experience, because to me, parts of me feel like this game could have more just used a little bit of a reboot, reimagination to really flush out some of these experiences to make them stand out a little bit more, fix some of the flaws and stuff like that. But the overall story and setup and gameplay was enjoyable for a simple, straightforward, tactical, robotic, build your mech kind of style idea. It was fairly decent for that. So I am happy to have this Japan version on my shelf that I get to play on PlayStation 4 and can play on PlayStation 5. The experience was fairly workable and enjoyable. Not too many major issues that entered other than those 2 crashes that I mentioned, but I kind of expected it because like the black screen happened ahead of time, so I kind of expected it. So in the end, it's really going to be up to you. Maybe you want to get the US version. The overall experience, if you're wanting to get this PS4 version, as I said, it's only available in Japan. It works fairly decently well. It was a fairly good experience. I just don't know, like I said, I didn't know if it was worth my time to run through the game again and play the other campaign just to see the other side of the story, which I appreciate they having that option. It's very rare the games often have 2 versions of the story so you can get the full experience. So again, thank you all so much for watching. I will provide links down in the description if you're interested in a copy. If you're into a tactical game, this is not going to fulfill that tactical desire, but it is interesting to see a classic game like this get fully remade and presented, and I'm really happy with that. Classic game like this, never thought it'd be possible. I do have Front Mission 2 Remake, as well as I do know that Front Mission 3 Remake is in the process, or if it's already out, not entirely sure, but I'm still happy that these classic games are being fully remade and made preserved to certain degrees. Parts of me wish they probably would have updated certain aspects to make it a little bit more cleaner and smoother, but I'm still just happy that the original games are available in such a way. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!